Woo! What's going on, guys? Arms Farm coming at you guys today with another video, and going to be talking about the Game 2 preseason game that happened yesterday up at Arrowhead, Kansas City. Um, yeah, man, the Lions face off against the Super Bowl champions in another preseason match, Game 2, like I said. The Lions won the game 24-23, 101 in the preseason. Um, Better showing, don't really care too much about the win-loss record right now, but a win's a win. That they did what they could. Game clinching field goal by Jake Bates. Just a much better showing than it was last week up at MetLife against the New York Giants. So they played better. That's all we're looking for. Let me see. Do they have some injuries? Yeah, linebacker Malik Jefferson went down. Don't know what that really was. Offensive tackle Dan Skipper. Wide receiver Traquan Smith had a hand injury. Looks like he could be missing some time. I know Isaac Uku got hurt, but he did end up coming back, and I didn't really hear too much about any other injuries. But relatively unscathed, came out kind of healthy, and with lots to talk about. And we'll talk about some stats. I'll talk about the Lions stats. Usually during preseason, this is kind of new to me. During the preseason, I won't really talk about the other team stats, maybe a little bit here and there, but we'll focus more on the Lions and who was out there. Now remember, no starters for the Lions. Couple guys out there like Ife Melifonwu, possible starter was out there. Amik Robertson, cornerback, he was out there too, fighting for a nickel. But offensively, nobody for the Lions. No Jared Goff, no Gibbs, no Montgomery, no offensive linemen, no wide receivers. None of those guys, no tight ends, just guys kind of fighting for camp battles right now. Like fighting in a camp battle for positions. No starters. So let's talk about some stats. Quarterback Nate Sudfeld, he was 14 for 27, 196 yards and a touchdown and an interception. 51% completion percentage. Looked better, but nothing special. He did move the ball against Kansas City Chiefs number ones a little bit. Throwing for a long touchdown with Kaden Davis. Talk about that in a bit too. But he looked better, but he just doesn't look comfortable out there. And then Hendon Hooker came in the second half. He was 12 for 15. Started off a little bit slow. 80% completion percentage, 150 yards, no touchdowns. He was sacked once. He did fumble the ball too. It almost felt like it was a three-way fumble, with kind of a bad snap. He was in the shotgun. Bad snap by the center. Don't know who the center was at the time. I don't know if it was Kingsley Iguakin or Michael Neese or anything like that. But kind of an off-kiltered snap. And then Zonovan Knight kind of came in, kind of bumped into Hendon Hooker. Hooker got the fumble though. He probably shouldn't have. He probably should have tried to corral the ball in. Not really, he kind of half-assed giving the ball to Knight, and it was just a nightmare from the start. It went high up on Zonovan Knight, and it was a fumble. And then they gave the ball right back. That was after getting the ball back in a strip sack from Pascal. We'll talk about that too. But I thought Hooker looked a little bit better. He did run for a touchdown. I'll talk about that too in a second. But he looked better. He just, I personally think he's won the quarterback 2 spot, or just he's ahead of Sudfeld right now. I don't really feel 100% comfortable with anybody if Jared Goff goes down. I'm not going to lie to you. I 100% do not feel comfortable with Nate Sudfeld, and I'm still on the fence with Hooker. I love Hendon Hooker. I think he's going to be something better in the future. But I don't think they're going to go for a quarterback. I know there's a lot of people out there that, they want to bring in the Tannehill. They want to go get a guy like Brian Hoyer. They want to go get someone else. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to roll with one of these guys, and I think this game coming up against Pittsburgh at Ford Field, the last preseason game, is going to tell you everything you need to know. I think it's still a camp battle. It's still a position battle for the QB2 spot. I think Hooker might have taken the lead, though. I think he might have taken. That's just my feelings on it, and I think a lot of people can agree. And a lot of people just don't want Sudfeld in there, and I can totally understand why. But rushing, running back Zonovan Knight, he was 8 for 36 yards on a 4.5 yards per carry. Rookie running back Sione Vaikai from Utah was 6 for 22, 3.7 yards per carry. Quarterback Hendon Hooker had 5 carries for 11 yards and a touchdown, 2.2 yards a carry. And then rookie wide receiver Isaiah Williams was 1 for 11 yards. Man, he's looking like a playmaker out there. Even Sudfeld rushed for 10 yards on a really sneaky play, actually. A great play call by Ben Johnson. It was like a fake toss. Everybody went to the left. Hook and they Sudfeld just kind of turned around. They pirouetted the other way, ran 10 yards to his right side, ran out of bounds. It was actually a really good play call because nobody expects Sudfeld to run. Yeah, and even Tom Kennedy had something like 9-10 yards on a sweep as well too. But they ran the ball okay, nothing special. Zonovan Knight, I think he looked good. He's not getting a lot of playing time. He's going to be the odd man out. He's going to be either a practice squad guy or he is going to be cut, released, whatever you want. Sione Vaikai, I believe this game, he did it against late. He did it a little bit later on in that first half against some ones of Kansas City, but mostly 2s and 3s and 4s, whatever. But he looked really good. I thought he cemented. I thought he was making the team anyways. I didn't think he was going to be a practice squad guy or anything like that. But I think they're going to carry 4 running backs. I really think they're going to carry 4 running backs, and he's going to be one of them. He's going to be either the 3 or the 4. I still think he's the 4 with Craig Reynolds up there as RB3. Craig Reynolds didn't get a lot of touches. I think he caught a ball, rushed once. He didn't do too much. They put Vaikai in there because I think they would really want to see what he is. And he's an athlete. He is a natural catcher of the football. And I'll talk about that too in a bit. But I think Craig Reynolds is still RB3 going into the year. The receiving, rookie wide receiver Isaiah Williams had another good day. He was 6 catches for 71 yards on 11.8 yards a catch, 8 targets. He did fumble the ball. He fumbled the ball on a punt return or a kick return. That's like 3 fumbles for this guy in 2 games. He needs to hold on to the football. He really does. And we'll talk about the receivers too, because they're still looking for receivers. Wide receiver Caden Davis had 2 catches for 64 yards on a long touchdown by Nate Sudfeld, 32 yards a catch, 7 targets. Again, two weeks in a row, Caden Davis getting looked at. They really want him to get going. Good to see the kid get in the end zone. He deserves it. He's one of the hardest working guys out there. So, like 7 targets kind of says that. And then rookie running back Sione Vaikai, 4 catches for 60 yards, 15 yards a catch. He was targeted 4 times, caught all 4 balls, and he just looks dynamic catching the football. He almost reminds me of just a touch slower than a guy like Theo Reddick when he catches the ball. He's very good on the cuts. He's precise. He's on point. Even Golden Tate, and Golden Tate was the type of guy that could drop on a dime. His cuts were fantastic, Golden Tate. And he was doing the preseason games. He's brand new to the broadcast there, man, doing preseason. Good to see Golden Tate back in a Lions uniform one way or another. And he was very impressed with Vaikai, the way he runs the football. He's very impressed with the way his cuts are. And you see him in his route running. You can see it in his route running. He gets open. Like I said, he's doing it against 3rd, 4th stringers, 2nd stringers. He did do it a little bit against the ones, but you can see the athleticism out there on him, man. Just don't know about the playing time with this guy. It's just going to be tough to get him playing time because you don't want Gibbs and Montgomery going down. But it'll be interesting to see how Ben Johnson can maybe somehow, put him into the fold. And then wide receiver Maurice Alexander had 2 catches for 40 yards on 20 yards a pop, 3 targets. Wide receiver Tom Kennedy had 3 catches for 31 yards, 10.3 yards a catch, 5 targets. He had a big first down catch in that game. Running back Jake Funk even got into it too. He's odd man out as well. He was 2 for 27 yards, 13.5 yards a catch, 3 targets. Wide receiver Darius Fountain had 2 catches, 15 yards, 7.5 yards a catch, in 3 targets. He was wide open on one play. I believe it was Sudfeld who missed him. Sudfeld or Hooker, can't remember. But he was wide open on a play that would have got him some bigger yards. And he hasn't done much. He's kind of fallen off the totem pole, sliding right down it. So, Darius Fountain, he had all that. What's it called there? He was looking good. He was looking good in practice. He's looking good in camp, OTAs, training camp. And then all of a sudden he's kind of slipped down. So, man, he had the leverage. It looks like that's kind of fallen to the wayside a little bit. He needs to really pick it up in this game 3. I don't know what they're going to do with him. He could be a practice squad guy. No tight ends really stood out here. Still a battle for that tight end 3 spot between James Mitchell and Shane Zylstra. It seems like both had a catch each. I think Zylstra had a catch for like 5 yards, Mitchell for like 13. So there's nothing really going on there. And then Donovan Peoples-Jones, another guy that was kind of in that Derice Fountain kind of level right there, who was looking like he could be a 3 or a 4, but he had 1 catch for 5 yards on 5 yards a catch. He did have 4 targets, though. They were trying to get him going, just couldn't get him going. He did have a really good block, though, on the Caden Davis touchdown. He sealed the defender, kind of just threw his body in front of him, did enough, and Caden Davis with the score. So he's a guy that's going to need to pick up some slack here, because even Dan Campbell coming out and praising Isaiah Williams, but it was almost to the point where he was like, where are we going to put this kid? We like what he's doing. We love what he's doing. He's making plays every week for us, but we're kind of loaded at slot. Khalif Raymond can play slot. He can play on the outside too. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a slot guy who can bounce outside as well. Are they going to bring in another 5'10", 185-pound guy? And there's nothing, personally, I got nothing against it, but they're looking for a different type of wide receiver. They want one of these big guys to step up. The Derice Fountains, the Donovan Peoples-Jones. I was really hoping Donovan Peoples-Jones was going to do this, and he just hasn't. He just really hasn't. I still think he makes the team, but he could be wide receiver 5 or 6 now. If they carry 6, and I don't know if they'll carry 6 on game day. They haven't. They're kind of both there. So don't be surprised if this team goes out and trades for a wide receiver. Not saying it's going to be a 1st, 2nd, 3rd round pick. They might be looking for a bigger wide receiver coming in. Cuts are going to be coming 100%. The cut day has got to be really, really soon if they haven't already been doing it. Don't be surprised if Brad Holmes brings in another wide receiver, a bigger wide receiver to make a little bit of noise. A guy that's probably maybe done some things in the NFL, but no superstar, obviously, because he's not going to – I don't see him paying big draft capital for a wide receiver. But they are looking for a big guy to kind of complement the loss of Josh Reynolds. Like, I know J-Mo is the new Josh Reynolds. J-Mo's got a different whole skill set, though, but he is wide receiver 2 now. But they're different skill sets, right? So they kind of need that bigger guy. But if there's guys that are producing, like Isaiah Williams and the Caden Davises, and those type of guys, the smaller dudes, they might roll with somebody smaller. I just don't know 100% if they will. Listening to Dan Campbell, it sounds like they might not. That's just my feel on it. Now, kickers, obviously Jack Fox is a superstar. He was punting the ball like the All-Pro, Pro Bowl guy that he is. Highest paid punter in the NFL, and he's just doing his thing. But Jake Bates, he was 4 for 4 on field goals outside. So, that was the one thing that I was very worried about, because he wasn't very good outside when he was a Michigan Panther. He was 4 for 4, hit a long of 55. Did miss an extra point, though. Those are huge. Not going to dwell on it because he went 4 for 4. If you go 4 for 4 and you miss an extra point and you win the football game, I'm good with it. They only won by 1 point, because those extra points are big. They really are. But he's got to hit those extra points. He had the game winner of 43. He had with no time on the clock, he did hit 55, 23, 32, and the 43. And the 43 was the big one. That's what Dan Campbell really wanted to see. He hit a field goal, 2 seconds left on the clock, no time on the clock. Game winner, on the road, outside. He's all but sealed his position as the kicker. And I'm not going to lie to you, I was a little bit nervous about this. I was a little bit nervous about him, man, because he came in hot. He came in even a little hotter, and he started trailing off. He was missing a bunch of field goals in practice, in training camp. And I was like, this guy, man, we could be in a little bit of trouble here. Maybe he's not the kicker we thought he was. But he's kind of buckled down. He's working on his craft, and he's been pretty damn good. He's been really good for the past couple weeks now. So that's good for him. He's all but sealed this. They could still bring in a guy to help, like maybe, to just relieve him. in training camp. He's the only kicker on the roster right now, which I'm kind of shocked. They must really love him. That's the thing I can only think of. You know what I mean? They must really love the kid, not to bring in another guy. You know what I mean? Because they had a shot to bring in a couple of guys that they could have, but you know they decided to go with Jake Bates, and I think he's all but won that job. So good for him. And then the special teams itself, though, was terrible. Other than Jake Bates, the kickoff coverage was horrific. Punting was, I think the punt coverage wasn't that great. They did, you know, Jack Fox was great. They did give up a big punt return. You know, a couple really big kick returns as well. I guess they were trying some new things, apparently. That's what Dave Phipp was trying to tell people. Dan Campbell was trying to say that Dave Phipp, you know, our special teams coordinator, that they were trying different things. So hopefully this works out, because that's 2 weeks in a row that they weren't that great. That's 2 weeks in a row that they weren't that great, and I needed to buckle that down. And I think it will get better. And stop fumbling the ball, too. You're fumbling way too much. Defensively, linebacker Abraham Beauplay, he had 5 tackles and a fumble recovery, almost returned it for a touchdown. He just came into the fold, too, man, and he was all over the place making tackles. So that looked good for him. Sam linebacker Mitchell Agude, a guy that I like a lot, guys. You know that. 4 tackles, a forced fumble. He was causing some pressures too all day. He's learning that Sam linebacker spot, which I kind of said he would. I have a feeling he's going to be the guy. He's a smaller D end at 6'2", 6'3", 250 plus pounds. You know, he's not a giant of a man, but you know he can play that linebacker position. That Sam linebacker that they're looking for, a guy that can rush the passer, drop back a little bit, do some things. Cornerback Cleo Dorsey had 4 tackles. He played pretty good out in the secondary too. Safety Brandon Joseph, 4 tackles, forced fumble. He almost had. He is just showing that he is a turnover guy. You know, that's 2 weeks in a row. They didn't get the ball back on that forced fumble, but he knocked the ball loose. They had a shot to get it. They didn't get it. He's just a guy that is a ball hawk. You can just tell that he's a guy that, you know, who gives his all. And I think he's a guy that's guaranteed going to make this roster. Linebacker Ben Neiman had 4 tackles. Defensive lineman Josh Pascal had 2 tackles and a sack and a forced fumble. Cornerback Amik Robertson, I think he played pretty well. 3 tackles. He had a couple pass breakups as well. One in the end zone, actually, too. Nose tackle Broderick Martin. He had 3 tackles. He was pretty good in run support. Safety cornerback Lawrence Strickland, 3 tackles. Rookie defensive end Matthew Betts, not really a rookie, but kind of rookie in the NFL. 1 tackle and a sack and a few pressures. He was all over the place. He looked pretty good. He's a lot bigger than I thought he was, too. He looks a lot bigger than I thought he was. Rookie defensive end Isaac Ukwu, 1 tackle and a sack as well, too. A little bit of a scare. Looked like he had a leg injury earlier, but he came right back, man, and he was playing well, too, as well. The defense overall, I thought they played well, especially holding a guy like Patrick Mahomes to 0 points. Maybe a field goal, or I think maybe a couple field goals that he did let up. He did drive them to, but no touchdowns, which I think is really surprising. Because they had their starters, we had our backups. So I think that's really good on our defense right there. It just shows that we do have a little bit of depth, that there is some depth there, man. Holding a guy like that to just 6 points is pretty special. So I'm pretty happy with that. I thought the run defense played pretty well. You know, they gave up a couple plays, but all in all, I thought the defense played really well. Offense moved the ball. I'm not too upset about it. Holding the Chiefs under 100 yards on the ground, pretty good too. You know, not playing all their starters. But their rookie wide receiver Xavier Worthy, he was 3 catches for 62 yards. He did have a touchdown. 20.7 yards a catch. The kid's got speed, man. It was on full display too, and he beat. I think it was Kindle Vildor and Brandon Joseph kind of got caught up with some busted coverage. Melifon was kind of coming in, Worthy with a big catch. And then on the big touchdown, I don't remember who it was that got beat. I want to say it was Dorsey, but don't quote me on it. It might have been Gilmore. Gilmore did get beat on the Powell touchdown, so I don't think it was him. But on Worthy's touchdown, I don't remember who it was. Carson Wentz threw the ball. I should have wrote it down. Number 29, is that Vildor? Is that, I should have wrote that down, but, I didn't. Sorry. And, but Worthy is going to be, it's going to be fun watching this Xavier Worthy and Patrick Mahomes thing going on this year, because they're going to be going deep a lot. This team loves to throw the ball deep. They are a Madden team. They're a Madden video game team at times. And Xavier Worthy is the guy that you need to grab in your fantasy. And he's a guy. But Carson Wentz came in there and he had a decent day too. A couple of their quarterbacks, I think they played like 4 quarterbacks, the Chiefs. But Worthy was a guy that I wanted to kind of mention because he looked pretty good out there. Anything else, guys? Special teams are awful. Already said that. Fumble, big runs, kick off. Yeah. I kind of said it all, guys. I was happy with the offense. They moved the ball. I thought Hooker worked his way into a QB2 spot as of now. I thought Sione Vaikai cemented a spot. I love our running back room. I think they're going to carry 4 running backs. They kind of did that the past couple of years with Kabinda being the fullback, being that 4th running back. I think they'll kind of do that now, minus Kabinda, but it'll be Gibbs, Montgomery, Vaikai, Reynolds. Those 4 guys. You're going to see those guys on game day because Reynolds and Vaikai have special teams duties as well. Wide receiver, they're still looking for that 5, that number 4, that number 5 guy, number 6 guy. Is it going to be Caden Davis? Is it going to be Isaiah Williams? Is it going to be Donovan Peoples-Jones? It seems like that's really up in the air right now. And I think it's coming down to the wire with those guys. Tight ends. That tight end 3 still, it's still out there. I don't know. Is it going to be James Mitchell? Is it going to be Shane Zylstra? I like Zylstra personally, but I think Mitchell's the more complete tight end. But I think Zylstra's just a little more exciting receiving wise. And offensive line, Sorsdal, that's what I should have talked about. Coyote Owasika played well. Kingsley Aguakan played well at center. Sorsdal had a better game. There were some guys out there that played well. Don't really know who played. It's hard to gauge O-lineman. It really is. But a couple guys kind of stepped up their game that game. I'm still looking for that swing tackle. Is it going to be Sorsdal? Is it going to be Skipper? It's kind of looking like Skipper, but he is a little bit injured up right now. But, Sorsdal's obviously making a team. I like Owasika still. Michael Neese, I think, has stepped up big time, and so has what's his name there, Kingsley Aguakan. So the depth is not as bad as once we thought it was going to be. So I think we kind of stepped up there a little bit with that O-line. More to come though. More to come. But I think that's it, guys. I think I've hit on everything. I tried to do it as quick as I can. We're going on 23 minutes. It's a long one. Apologize for that, but thanks a lot for coming in, listening to the video, guys. Lions win 23-22. Was that 24-23? 24-23 on a field goal kick by Jake Bates. No time on the clock left. A thriller of a game, if you want to call that a preseason game. But there's some guys that made some noise that went up, guys that went down, and we're still looking for some battles to be finally solidified. And I think this Pittsburgh game up next against against the Lions at Ford Field should cement that. Well, it has to, right? So thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the bottom right first. Notification bell up top. Hit that bell. Bing, bing. And don't forget to like, comment, share this out. Really appreciate it, guys. Go Lions. Detroit first, everybody. Grit, baby. Let's go. Bam.